All right, everybody, we got a special guest today with us here on Green with Envy. He is the voice of reason across Celtics Twitter. We've got Ramblin' Wreck 34, aka Richard White, is in the building with Green with Envy. Let's get it going. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. As always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me today, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, one and only Greg Manakis. And we got a fun episode ready today, Greg.
Yeah, I'm excited. Richard, not sure if you recognize my Twitter handle there at Mini Minnow. We've had a few back and forths on Twitter. Excited to get your perspective live so that I can meet the human being, that you can meet the human being behind the handle. Thanks for being here.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here, Richard. And it's funny. We're coming up on just about the 2-year anniversary of your son, Derrick White, getting traded to the Celtics from the trade deadline. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but even before Derrick got traded to the Celtics, you've been a lifelong Celtics fan. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Tell me about that. How did that happen? And what is some of your memories and connections of the Celtics, even before Derrick came to the Celtics? What was that like?
So, basically, when I was born, I was like in the middle of the run. So like my dad used to do is he would take me to the barbershop whenever the Celtics came back from a long road trip, because he knew the players would be going and getting their hair done. So I was there. So they always told me the story that, I got my first haircut and I completely acted like a fool. And how kids are when they get their haircut, they start crying and bawling and all this other stuff. And he goes, you do realize you were like bawling in front of like Bill Russell and Sam Jones and all these other guys. And, they were pretty good about it. It's not probably the first time a kid's actually lost it in their presence before, but, it's always something good to, look back on, later on in life that, that you were there. And they said, like Sat Sanders used to come by the house and stuff. So, it was kind of around the Celtics or whatever. And then it's not that bad, and they win like 11 and 13 years. So it's like, they didn't have like duck boats and stuff like that, but every year it's like, oh, the Celtics played, the Celtics won. You didn't know anything different, which then when I got old enough to, actually know about, winning and losing and heartbreak and stuff, that's when the Red Sox side took over. So it's like, I guess that was, and it's like, I won 11 out of the first 13 years of my life, the Celtics win. And when I can actually appreciate championships, the Red Sox take you to the brink and then they let you down until like, 67, 75. It's just like nonstop.
And then we had a great 20 years, and now the Red Sox are terrible again. And we
apparently this next generation is starting to go through exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Red Sox now. I haven't watched a full Red Sox game like on TV in a couple of years, quite honestly. Are you still tuning into the Sox at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. Keep the Sox if they can, and when they come out to Colorado, which is infrequently, try to get tickets. Still kind of upset they played the World Series and I was in line and I was getting ready to put my credit card information to get tickets for Game 4, and then the system crashed, and so I didn't go. And that was like, oh, they won in 4, they would have been here. That would have been something cool. But hopefully, things seem to go in cycles. It's like the Celtics won, then the Patriots won, the Bruins won, the Red Sox won. And so I think, it's about time that the Celtics are back on it's their turn to win.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I think that's the Celtics right now is, as you're talking about going through such success as a young kid and then having, kind of a gap in there, especially when you start to, align your allegiances with the Red Sox. Like we said, I think we're kind of hitting another stretch now, but the Celtics are in prime position to make sure that that drought from a full scale, Boston sports perspective won't be too much longer. And I think it's really interesting. I mentioned at the top of the show that you've become kind of a voice of reason within Celtics Twitter. And so before we get into the specifics of just Celtics Twitter, I'm curious, was this something that you had done when Derrick came into the league and was with the Spurs? Were you actively involved with a lot of Spurs fans and having interactions with that fan base, or is this something that has more taken a hold since Derrick came to Boston 2 years ago?
No, it was that way in San Antonio too. So I mean, I still have like San Antonio connection. So the stuff that they're going through now, it fills the other third of my Twitter. So it's like, then you kind of understand how things are for everything. So even though the Celtics are playing, 30 wins in 39 games, then I got the other side where the Spurs aren't winning. But it's weird because the Spurs fans they can see the other side. So everything is, oh well, if Wemby could play more than 25 minutes, and Vassell is doing this and Johnson's doing that, they see the best case scenario of the Spurs, even though they won six games or so. Then you go to the other side, you go to the Celtics side, they're winning, and then all you hear about is, oh, they can't do this. Oh, this missed this shot. Oh, we don't call timeouts. Oh, we shoot too many threes. And it's like, well, it just sometimes gets to you. It's like, well, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fun. Everybody has their allegiances, and they put the spin on things how they want to put a spin on it. But at the end of the day, you open the paper. I'm an older guy. You open the paper, you see the stand. That's where you are. I mean, you can't, I guess, Twitter, X, whatever, social media, you have the ability to create a world that isn't actually true. You can make it into whatever you want to. Yeah, the Celtics have won 30 games. Yeah, but they lost a game 2 days ago. Okay. So, they're not very good. Okay. If at this point in the season they're not very good, what are the other 29 teams? Because I mean, if you look at it through the lens of how you portray the Celtics, whether that be national media or whatever, even local Celtics media, it's a Celtics Twitter. It's like, what are you really complaining at? So, because at this point, there's not another team that's playing better than them. That doesn't guarantee anything come June or how things go. But right now, you can't honestly, unless you just want to be contrarian. And I think I posted that today, but it was more in line with the Spurs thing. It's like people come up with outlandish, contrary things, thinking they're being the smartest person in the room. Well, nobody else is coming up with this, so obviously I'm the smartest person, and for the most part, depending on my mood or whatever, that strikes me, because you can't really come up going against data points. That's why when I do post stuff, I just post data. Now you can interpret it and filter it how you will, but that's what happened. If Derrick gives up so many points or has any blocks or steals, oh, he's trash or whatever. You can't deny the numbers and the production of the people. So, after a while, sometimes it gets to a point, and then I just have to, kind of snap back and say, well, what are we talking about here?
Right.
Basically, it's usually everybody just wants, everybody always says, oh, you're being biased, which translates mean you don't think like I do. You don't see the game like I do. And I like this person better. And I can't, for the life of me, be a decent person and acknowledge another person's stats. I mean, it'd be stupid for me to, go, oh, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander can't do whatever. The man's played incredible.
Yeah.
There's not much you can't do.
No, what Shea does doesn't impact what Derrick does or what Jay does. But everybody has to be. It's more about a you thing. Everybody has to be right. So if I'm team Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, everybody else in the league can't accept that. So
Right.
that's my battle. Is it's like accept the greatness of the 450 players with guaranteed contracts who can do things in the NBA that we can't. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're just sitting here talking about, oh, this person had a bad shooting night. Well, if you were in the NBA, you'd be still on the bench. You wouldn't even have a shooting night. So that's
We wouldn't have a uniform on, let's be real. But one thing I want to ask you about just like the way that Celtics Twitter kind of sees Derrick, because like from my perspective, I think Derrick is almost universally beloved. Does your algorithm feed you any anti-Derrick White agendas? Because I don't see it.
I haven't seen much of this, so I'm curious to know if this does find its way.
from Celtics Twitter. No, but it's no, because there was, like in San Antonio, there was a certain kind of factor whatever there. So I don't. It was like DeJounte Murray or Derrick. I mean, the way the team played. I mean, no, take that back. Now that I mentioned that, there was because when Marcus was here, it was always Marcus or Derrick, and that's
Mm-hmm.
things where it's like you do realize you have both of them. So you don't, other teams would love to have Derrick and Marcus or Derrick and DeJounte, but you have that, and then you want to pit those two against each other. And so there's always that faction. But when Derrick does things, he just whatever it is, the coaches make the decision. Whatever they want him to do, you play the best of your ability when you get put in there, and that's all you can control. So,
and I think that's one of the things that Derrick does so exceptionally well is that he can fluctuate from being, he can be the main ball handler one night to the next night. He's kind of the guy in the corner being the connector and doing the little things, right? And he can go, and that's what we've said on this show is a lot, is that he can flow between roles on this team better than anybody, right? And can do so and, can kind of feel it out in a way that's very unique and very difficult to do. I think it's one of the hardest things to do. So I'm kind of curious, what is it about his personality or maybe something from your relationship with him that allows him to be so calm, cool, collected in the moment and able to be so versatile within his role?
I don't know where he gets the calmness from. It's probably from his mother. So, because I am definitely not in the family, but it's certain things. It's like, where does the game need to be successful? Because that's the ultimate thing. So, like he said before, and he's done most of his life, if we can win and I take 2 shots, so be it. It's okay, because I don't want to take 30 shots and lose, because that didn't fit whatever the game flow was or whatever. So, I mean, he's done that most of his basketball career. I mean, if things are flowing well, he just fits in. Now, if things aren't going well, then he will insert himself to try to do so. So like it's a bad situation, but Game 7 against Miami, Jason got hurt. And then in the middle of the third, they were down double digits, and Derrick went on like an 8-point run or something and pulled it with an 8. And, the crowd started to get back in. What he usually does is, like, if things aren't going well, he injects himself. And then when he gets it back to a level playing field, then he turns it over to others. So that was like Game 1 against the Nuggets when they played in 2019. No, game. Oh.
That's all right. We got dogs on this.
I got
side
my
too.
dog right here on my bed over here.
Like Game 3, it wasn't going very well, and then Derrick just inserted himself, and he had 26 points in the first half, and then didn't take a shot in the third quarter. I mean, a lot of people I got 26, I got it going. I got to keep going. So he backed off in the third. Got DeRozan going. And then the Nuggets made a run in the fourth, and then he got 10 points. The game was over. So, you do what you can to interject. You don't have to be the main focal point. But if the team needs you at a certain spot, you need to be ready to go.
For sure. And I'm assuming, because you love your son, that you listen to his appearance on the JJ Redick podcast. You
Mhm.
consume all Derrick White content. Okay. So one thing I'm interested in, he mentions that he's like very self-aware, and like you can kind of tell that about him, that he is self-aware. He doesn't put himself on the same level as like Jason and Jalen. He kind of refers to them as the stars throughout that podcast. And there's been a lot of conversation, obviously, about Derrick's all-star candidacy this year. So I was just interested in a couple things. One, has he always been self-aware even as a kid? Or is that more of just like Derrick White, the athlete? And then two, where do you see the current all-star candidacy for him?
So, I mean, he's always been pretty self-aware as far as knowing, where he is in the grand scheme of things, and he's okay because that leads to winning. I mean, if the Celtics, if the Jays play extremely well, you can feed off of the Jays and be ready. I mean, that's what makes this team, fully healthy, so dangerous, because they have enough people to. You can't really guard them if they're all in. So I mean, if you go, top 8, oh, we don't have a bench, but if you go top 8, what do you truly? Where there's not many weaknesses. So he can easily fit in, because the first 2 names on the scouting report are Jason and Jalen. You have to take care of them. If you don't take care of them, they're going to score 60 to 80 points between the 2 of them, and good luck with that. And then if you concentrate on them, and this is the thing. I mean, Jason had it a little earlier, but Jalen's doing phenomenal as far as kicking out. So, and that's the thing that sports NBA Twitter doesn't really get. You get more if you give more. So, I mean, there's tons of people, Luca and stuff like that. They put up phenomenal numbers, but in the grand scheme of the team thing, I'm not going to let you touch it except in the last 3 seconds, and then you have to.
It's
And
those selfish assists, right?
right,
Luka
right.
has a lot of selfish assists.
If you don't make it, then you're going to get pulled, and
Mm-hmm.
it looks bad on you. Then on the other end, I want you to bust your butt playing defense, because
Yeah.
I'm play defense. So the thing with the Celtics is everybody plays defense. Everybody can shoot and score. Everybody is sharing the ball. So it just feeds upon itself. So, I mean, Jalen gets a lot of good open looks because, well, what do we really do? So if we double Jalen, he's passing the ball. So that means you're going to get Jason on the second side against a fractured defense, and then he can do what he does. You can pass to either Derrick or Drew, and they can spot up and make a 3. Or you can pass back to Derrick or Drew, and then they can run an action. And next thing you know, Porzingis is shooting over a stool. I mean, what do you do? I mean, it's the easiest form. I mean, so Derrick gets like 4 or 5 assists a game because they do the Derrick, and KP pick and roll, and then they switch off, and then he's going against, it's unstoppable, and then he's just shooting over somebody, and then yep, that's an assist. Oh, that's an assist. Oh, and then we'll take away the throwback to KP, because he went and got a dunk the other day because the defense was like, what do we do? And he just sailing down the lane. So I mean, this team, when healthy, has the ability, and with the proper mindset to really do a lot of,
Well, what would it mean for your family for Derrick to get nominated as an all-star or voted in as an all-star?
So I think the main thing is just the recognition that is in these conversations, because, like I said, there's 450 people with guaranteed contracts. I mean, you can look at the list. There's so many good guards in the East that if you pick, other than the fact that it's not your guy, you're not really wrong.
Yeah.
You got Maxey and Brunson and Dame and Mitchell, Halliburton, LaMelo Ball's back.
Trey Young. The list goes on. It's a deep list at guard.
You're at 8 now, and then you add if you put in Derrick, that's 9, and there are six guard spots.
Right.
Just to be in the conversation, because before this year, the number of votes that he has, that the votes he has now has eclipsed all the all-star votes or whatever
put together.
So he's in. People are realizing the value and whatever. So whether you make the all-star team or not, just to know that your work on the court is recognized, and that people in the know that you're a good player. So does he get all-star? Probably, maybe not, but there's one thing you can't take away. When he plays, the Celtics are 29-7.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Richard, whether or not that worth shows up in an all-star nod, it's going to show up on that next contract. I feel pretty damn confident that it's going to show up there. So I think it will potentially work out in the end. Something I'm curious about, because we want to actually go through, and Greg has a couple of clips that we want to just kind of get your reaction on. But I would love to know, how much do you and Derrick, either in between games or after a game, how much time do you guys spend talking about what happened the night before, or any specifics related to a game? Are those conversations that you guys typically have, or is that something that you kind of leave separate out of your relationship?
Oh yeah, we don't usually talk about the games that much. Our only interactions on game day, is basically, I send him a text, and say, things like, be a disruptive force, dare to be great. That's our saying. And that I love him. So I say, love Pops. And that's basically what he goes into the game with. So
I love that.
Purpose or whatever. It's not like, oh, you got to score this. You got to get, this number of blocks. Sometimes I'll send something, like his mom will say, God, he hasn't had a dunk yet or whatever. So
he's getting up this year, though, man. He looks like he's definitely more athletic, a little bit more bouncy this year. It's been fun to see. Hey, Richard, were you in the building on New Year's Eve in San Antonio?
Yes.
Okay, we were there too. So we're based in Austin, Texas. We grew up in Boston, moved to Austin in 2012, right? So we were in the building. We talked about the All-Star, the Whites and All-Star chant. Were you still there when that started happening?
Unless you meant the previous year. No,
no.
We weren't there this year. No. But we were there. We were watching it. We were actually flipping back and forth between the San Antonio feed and then the Celtic feed, just to see if we could catch different things or whatever.
Yeah, Derrick still got some love down here in the Texas area. We're in Austin, like Greg said, but we're as close as any other major city to the Spurs fan base here. So there's quite a few of them down here in Austin, and I know when Greg and I are in just kind of casual conversations, like, oh yeah, we do coverage for the Celtics. Derrick White's the first name that comes up, and there's still a lot of Spurs fans that hold an affinity for Derrick White. I thought it was so funny earlier when you mentioned him and Marcus together, and how like it was. Is it White or Murray? And then it became, is it White or Smart? And the funny part for Greg and I, who've been covering the team now for about 3.5 years, is that there was a good chunk of time where every trade conversation was, do we trade Marcus Smart for DeJounte Murray, or do we trade Marcus Smart for Derrick White? And then what do you know, ends up Derrick White and Marcus Smart together. So it's just kind of funny how some of those things play themselves out at times.
No, exactly. So like Austin, that was like a great time in Derrick's life. He was just trying to get his footing in the NBA, and they sent him to Austin to play. And basically it was what we always say is, you got to take advantage of any situation. So like when he first went to college and he went to UCCS, they were going to redshirt him, and so the only thing we said was, well, since they're redshirting you, your practices are your games. So you go all out in practice. And he went all out in practice. They were like, we can't stop him. So we're just going to play. We're going to pull the red shirt and go. And then the same thing in Austin once he tried to figure out where he fit in, which is really, the G League is a different experience because, Derrick's coming down with a contract. Everybody else is on lower amounts of money. They're trying to get to what Derrick already has. And, it's human nature. And Austin struggled at first when they first got down there because everybody was trying to, well, he's down here. Let me see if I can do this, that, and the other thing, which is, it's human nature. But that it wasn't cohesive to winning. It wasn't until they figured out that he wasn't coming down here to take all the shots and take all the usage. He was coming down here to play the game the right way, which is what the Spurs wanted you to do. Yeah. And he could be the focal point, but then he was also distributing, and that team was one of the better teams in all time in the G League. I mean, they just went through and ran roughshod over teams. It was pretty cool beating the South Bay Lakers. They had Caruso and Thomas Bryant and the Twins, and so it was really really fun beating on those guys.
Yeah, it feels like following just kind of follows Derrick wherever he goes. There's usually a winning mentality that follows. But Greg, why don't we go through a couple of these clips here? I know that you have a couple in here that you wanted to share with Richard. So for those of you listening on the podcast right now, we'll narrate what's happening here. But if you want to check this out, head over to the YouTube channel. You'll be able to see these clips here. But Greg, I'll let you kind of dig in here and go through them.
So the first one, and I kind of just want to get your reaction to these plays, just to see what you see and see what you like about what Derrick did on the play. So I'll play the clip and then just you can kind of talk through what you saw. But this first play, you'll see a double team on Jaylen Brown. You talked about, how Derrick is able to kind of fill in the spaces. If you double the Jays, then you're kind of screwed because we have so many different options. So we're going to play this first clip here. You'll see Jaylen Brown getting doubled, and then I want you to react to what Derrick does.
The double comes at him again. White makes it pay.
That's like a relocation. So the key is accept the double, make the first good pass. I mean, if he makes a pass that gets deflected or it takes a while to get to Porzingis, then the play's not going to work. So the first thing is he moves over to, depending on the double, he could have been the outlet, and then he would have passed it to Porzingis, and Porzingis would have hit a three. So, but this time Porzingis was the outlet. He made a sharp pass. Porzingis just whipped it right over, and you have to be ready at all times. Shot ready. So, because even though after he made that pass and he got it, the defense was relatively close. It wasn't a wide open three, which he had one that he did talk about that on the ride home. He really wanted that one when he really wanted that fourth one. But Porzingis whipped it over. He was in catch and shoot position. The pass hit him right in the shooter's pocket, and then you just let it fly. So that to me shows you trust the work that you put in. You get your legs under you, and you knock down the shot. You don't analyze it where, I haven't, I'm shooting 29% from three. Or it's like, it's going to come to me. It's like, yeah, you're going to make the next one. So be ready, catch, and then go ahead and just fire.
Yeah, I love that play because at the very beginning, right, as Jaylen is getting that double team, you see Derrick flash towards the middle, right? And that's something that I think Derrick is so good at, is knowing when to cut, knowing to make himself available. And the moment you see Jaylen pass the ball to Porzingis, he follows through he exits out to the perimeter, and Porzingis makes the pass. I love hearing your perspective on that. All right, this next play, you mentioned Derrick White running pick and roll. So Celtics are going to be in a little double drag action. And Derrick makes a really interesting read on this play, and I would love to just get your perspective.
Right, again, being extremely patient, and gets a three out of it how's it from the corner.
So on that one, if team scout, and like Scal mentions it all the time on the broadcast, we got to get Derrick White, off pick and roll, getting downhill on his right hand. So teams are going to adjust, and that's the thing with the NBA. They make an adjustment, but it gives up something else. So as minute he got into that, the situation for the double drag, everything kind of shifted over because they knew that's where he was going to go. And then as you read the defense, if that guy just edges off of Sam, it doesn't need to take that much. If you move 6 inches in the wrong direction on Sam and the ball gets fired right back to him, it's going up. And it's going up. I feel very confident every time Sam shoots. So, that's the part of where I said, when healthy, how do you really defend this team? Because there's so many different variations that they haven't even unleashed on that play, which I give credit to Sam Cassell, because when he came out to Colorado and was working with Derrick over the summer, they worked on that exact play. They countless times. You go, we're gonna go over here. You're gonna call for a pick, and we're gonna run this over here, because then you have either Jalen or Jason or both in a non-guarded realm. Because if you hug up on both of them, and then you go off of the screen with like Porzingis or Horford, you got a pitch back for a popping, a pick and pop with Al. You get the switch, and then Porzingis slides into the lane. Then if you come over and you don't do anything, Derrick pulls up behind the 3-point line, or Derrick goes to the basket. And then in this case, on your clip, you're all ready for that. Boom, goes to Hauser on the corner 3. So, I mean, that's good. That's going to work. You're going to get a good shot every time. They may not go in all the time, but all you can do is, and that's the big thing with like what Sam was like trying to convey when he came to the team, was we struggle down in the clutch because we don't get the best shot we can, because we're trying to go for, hey, if we get 2 more threes here, we'll blow the team out. Right. So, Sam's main thing during the summer was, we want to get a good shot every time down, whether it be a free throw or, or a basket, so that we score every time down. Because then with our defense, if we're scoring every time down, then the other team has to score every time down. And then with the 5 people that we put on the defensive end, that's not likely to happen. So yeah, you're going to outscore a team. That's what they outscore teams pretty much in the last 5 minutes. It's because they're getting good quality shots that aren't necessary, like ISO shots, because you can make ISO shots, but you can't make a living with ISO shots. But
quick question for you to follow up on the Sam Cassell relationship with Derrick. You mentioned that he came out to Colorado. They were doing some work. And I think we all saw last year at the end of the season, how important, or how important it was that the Celtics didn't have a real coaching staff towards the end of the year, right? Or didn't have the fully built out and developed coaching staff that they have this year. What has that relationship been like, having Sam and Derrick? Like, what does it tell us a little bit more about that connection behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, Sam is a championship winning player. He won in Houston, won in Boston. He knows what the point guard play is supposed to look like. He knows what guards are supposed to do. He's also been on the other side as a coach, so he knows what other teams were, So some of the things that he was, teaching Derrick was probably things are, well, from the Philadelphia perspective, this is what we can or can't live with. I mean, you have to give up something in the NBA to try to stop somebody. So, and even last night, because I was like, he missed his first couple of shots and whatever, and it was like a timeout, and Sam was like talking to him, and giving him some pointers, and trying to keep his confidence high. And then he went on that run, and then he was like 0 for 3, and then next thing he had like 4 buckets in a row, and so so it's like, whoa, okay. Yeah.
Are you sitting right behind the bench? Are you close to the bench?
Yeah, we were right there, right behind the bench.
Nice. The perks of being a dad, right? All right. So the this next play that I have, you mentioned the crunch time offense. This isn't necessarily crunch time, but this is something that I've noticed that more guys on the team are willing to make plays like this, and it seems like it starts with Derrick. So in terms of the mentality and get early pitch aheads and things like that. So I just want to play this clip for you, and then we'll talk it through.
As an odds-on favorite if everybody's healthy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Everybody has to be healthy. But that's true for anybody.
Oh, my goodness. And plays like this.
Yeah, so I mean that's always been a good thing, a good staple of of play is to pitch the ball ahead. The ball progresses faster on the pass than it does the dribble. Derrick could have dribbled that up. He still would have had the pass to the wing to Jalen, but the defense would have been more set for the drive. I mean, even then, it was still a fracture thing, and he just made an incredible shot and he got fouled. But you can see a lot of times when they play that they get that. I mean, Drew does that a lot, or where Derrick or Drew will get it and then hit the other one, and then next thing you know, usually it's Jalen. Jalen's down there; he's incredibly fast, and then Jalen against a not set defense, it's over. I mean, you can't. I mean, he's big and strong enough that he can go through people. He can, get a cross match in transition where he's being guarded by, someone like Fred VanVleet, and he can just shoot over him. So
can we call Fred VanVleet a stool?
No. There's other stools. Fred's not one. He's got extremely active hands. But he doesn't have, he's not as tall as Derrick, but Fred gets his hands on a lot of balls. So he's very good in that area. So Fred would not be as Fred.
I'd like to see your list of stools throughout the league. Okay,
that's another segment that we're going to do at a later date.
And we got one more play, and then we just want to have some questions from our audience for you that we'd love to ask you. So this action here, I'm just going to play it, and then you can talk us through. I won't even intro it.
Yeah, that's another options, and they've been running that late off the the double flare to Derrick. They run that. So the minute they do that, usually that results in him shooting that three. But I mean, technically he could have shot that three, but then Jason went down, and he was like, smaller guy, pass the ball into him and get it going. Because sometimes you scoring is not the right thing. So as long as you're doing something that facilitates winning, that's good. Because he passes it into Tatum. Tatum gets a shot. Tatum makes it. Because to Derrick it means 2 points. So. Right. Whether I get an assist and we get 2 points or whatever, but that makes Jason feel good. And if Jason's on a good roll, that's good. That's good for the Celtics. I mean, sometimes it's like to a fault, because he had that one last night where he drove and I thought he had a layup and he pitched it to Jason in the corner for a three. So. In the grand scheme of things, why didn't you just score? But, in the flow of the game, if he can make that pass, I get an assist. And Jason, who had been,
he was hot last night at that point. Yeah.
So and they had a lead. It's not like if there's like a 1 or 2 point game and, go ahead and take the layup. But it was like, okay, no, he was there and kick it over and then let him make the shot.
Yeah, that point, play.
Go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say. I got it. All right. So on that play, I was just really interested. What that stood out to me, because as you mentioned, when they run that little horns flare action, Derrick normally shoots that, right? He's got great balance. It seems like a shot that he practices and works on. And then when he made that pass, I was like, oh, that was a great read. And I made a note of it as I was watching the game last night. Honestly, forgot that we had this interview. And then when I remembered we had this interview, I was like, oh man, like I really want to bring this up because it just shows to Derrick's IQ. It speaks volumes to his IQ because that is a rhythm shot for him. It's a shot he's been burying all season. And he just sees that his teammate has an advantage in the post and he decides to make that pass. So wonderful thing. Will, sorry for interrupting you.
No, we're good. We're good. I was actually just going to bring us over. I wanted to go to our Discord page here before we let you go here, Richard. So I want to let you know. So we have a Discord page with all of our fans of the show here, and we asked a couple weeks ago, who are some guests that you would like to see? And your name kept coming up. So first of all, for those of you listening, if you're not part of the Discord page, get your ass in the Discord. The link is in the description. No matter where you're listening to, come and join, make a request. Maybe we make it happen. As you see here, we got Richard White with us. So we wanted to get a few of those questions answered. We teased it out that you were coming on the podcast here. So we got a couple questions that we want to go through. And, Greg, you brought up earlier about Derrick being on the JJ Redick podcast. And Richard, I'm sure you've heard about this. Last year, Derrick goes on the show, goes into a little bit of a shooting slump. Mm-hmm. This year, goes on the show, seems like we're going towards a little bit of a shooting slump. Although last night against Houston, he goes 3 of 5 from the 3-point line. Looks like we might be moving away from that. But in our Discord, probably the most upvoted question that we had is, how do we get Derrick White to avoid the old man in the 3 for any big situations coming up? I don't know what role you play in his media availability, but coming around the playoffs, what's the price, Richard? What do we got to pay to make sure that we don't get Derrick White on the old man in the 3 in the playoffs?
I don't know. I mean, we kind of let each other do, he does what he does. And it was like, cause he's like, oh, I don't know. I maybe work on limiting my media availability. So it's like, so we'll let it. But I think the whole thing with, the JJ thing, it's like, okay, something happened, but then this year, it looks like he's going down. But I think context kind of has to go into play. He was shooting, phenomenally, and then it looked like his shot had fallen off. And I think the taking off the second half of the Bucks game probably did more good than people know, because they have been playing pretty much nonstop, almost a game a day. I mean, the Houston game was 6 games in 9 days. So if you get a break, I mean, they weren't winning that, and they weren't shooting well, and they rested, and they and you got your they had day off, got your legs back. So take off a half a game, get a day off, and then last night everybody looked like they had better, fresher legs. And if you have fresh legs, your shot's going to look and do a lot better.
All right, we'll go on to the next question here. Let's see. This Abe's Mustard Place put a couple of them in here. Let's see. Did Derrick at some point share that he was going to commit himself fully to basketball? Actually, we'll skip that one. I like this one better. What advice do you have for young parents when it comes to athletic endeavors for their children?
Oh, okay. So that's kind of a good one, because like you said, I got hit up for that same question. Somebody on Spurs Twitter asked me, the same thing. It's like, what do you tell parents that, of athletes? So kind of mentioned it earlier. It's like on the game day, just tell them to play hard, make an impact in the game. Don't be specific. I need a triple double. I need 20 points and blah, blah, blah. So just tell them to be, active, play the right way, and that, regardless of what happens, that you love them. See, I mean, your love is not conditional on whether or not they score or the team wins or anything. It's just like, but basically it's just, oh, this is another opportunity to watch him play. I mean, you go through high school and then you get the last game of high school. And it's like, well, that's it. Now what do we do? Oh, and then you get lucky to be able to go to college, and then the college season ends. Oh, okay. and then you get lucky enough to get in the NBA, and it's like, oh wow. So you just kind of enjoy the run, let them know that you support them in whatever they do, and to do it for themselves, not really for you. So you may have like, oh, I was a lacrosse player, and then they don't end up gravitating to lacrosse, then you're kind of, but it's like whatever sport, whatever activity that they show an interest in, you just be there to support them, and go from there.
All right,
That's
we'll do two more questions here, and then we'll get you out of here. Here's one that we got. Who are some of the players Derrick studied growing up?
In Colorado, it's Chauncey Billups. So Chauncey's always been kind of part of Derrick's life, and he used to work he used to go to Chauncey's summer camps. Then he was a camp counselor at the Chauncey's camps, and which was pretty cool, because Chauncey always brought in pros to assist with the camp. And then during lunch break or in between the two sessions, they would kind of have some informal runs and stuff. So he got to play in and around some of the players. One of them was like Blake Griffin, so that was pretty cool, where as a camp counselor, he was running with Blake Griffin, and then last year he was playing with Blake
Did Blake remember that?
Yeah. He's like, oh wow, that is true. That was pretty cool. So you already had something like that, and now Derrick has got Chauncey is he's coaching Portland and stuff. So Derrick is now running the same camp under his name that Chauncey had. So you kind of come full circle. So everything's always Chauncey. He continues to talk to Chauncey to this day, and Chauncey opens and gives him advice and stuff, and it was pretty cool, because he was out there working out, and Chauncey and Sam are both there, giving him this is what you need to do. So I know Chauncey's on an opposing team or whatever, but the relationships you build throughout are going to take you a long way.
What is the Trailblazers cap space? I'm a little bit worried now.
I was just about to say, Richard, you're putting this out there now where people are going to listen and start connecting the dots. Derrick White to the Blazers? They've got a max slot. What do we think?
There's like, some of the different people. It's like, wow, it'd be great. So there's like, but see, that's the good thing, and not the good thing, but it's that his skill sets are coveted by 29 other teams. He would help 29 other teams. Unfortunately, he's a Celtic, so they can't have him. So it's I get people always say, "Whoa, what can we get this?" We live in Colorado, so I hear from them, and then the San Antonio people, I hear from them. So it's like nonstop. So I guess, but he's like on the persona non grata list down in Miami. They don't necessarily like
everywhere but every team but Miami looking to get Derrick White added to the roster. Richard, we really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today, man. This has been a really fun conversation. We'd definitely love to have you back on sometime later in the year as well. Greg, any final thoughts here before we send Richard and the audience out of here?
No, this was great, man. I had a blast. It's been fun seeing your kind of rise to superstardom on Twitter. I loved that article. I think it was Noah that did that article.
Noah,
yeah. It's been great, because I myself am one to kind of keep things level headed. I'm not really like engaging with the trolls or anything like that. I just kind of tweet what I see. And I appreciate the way that you kind of see the game as well. So thank you for taking the time. You've seemingly raised a great young man, and Celtics fans are super lucky to have him. We're going to play all of our audience out with a song from my band down here in Austin, Texas. And we're going to give Richard a preview of it with the music video here, and we'll talk to you soon, everybody.
Peace, everybody.
Every time I get this high, I lose my mind. It don't take much no more until I hit the floor. Every time I get this high, it's you I find. It don't take much no more until I'm at your door. You cut me to my core, baby. What can